Hey everyone, welcome back to another Matt Talk. And this week I have Adam for the second time, and Adam is the only person who's ever come twice, but it's because he comes with great news, and that's why I invited him back. Hey Adam.
Hello, good morning.
So today's topic is obviously back on product because Adam is a product director and I wanted him because I heard about a release that's up and coming and I said, you must come back and we must talk about these things because they excite the hell out of me. This summer release, it's called, because whilst you've all been on holiday, we've kept working and we've been building these incredible features that are getting released as a result of the summer. And the summer release is called Smooth Operations, which I love. Why is it called that? And what is, what's some of the highlights that we're going to talk about today?
Look, smooth operations. So it's all about, giving the guests an effortless experience and then making sure hotels have the tools that they need, which are just working in the background. We don't want people using the system. We want everything automated as much as we can. And it's not just about efficiency and automating those tasks, but it's all about the guest experience and making sure that they have an awesome arrival, in-stay and departure experience at the hotels.
Nice. All the things that I talk widely about on the internet and all the frustrations that I have. And I can't wait to hear some of the stuff that you've been doing. And in the pre-talk, there were several things that's like, right, we're doing that. That is so exciting. So I'm really excited to start digging in. We've got three themes that we're going to talk through. So we will break it into little blocks. And the first one is really, how do we perfect that online check-in experience or that smooth arrival at the hotel? The second one is really, how can we help give you more information about your guests and create those really personal experiences? And then the last one is really, how do we improve the back office operation, some of the automations that we've built there to make that experience an even better one? We wanted to start with the online check-in experience and some of the stuff we've implemented there. Do you want to kick off with that one?
Absolutely. Look, let's start where it begins. You receive your email or your SMS inviting you to do that online check-in. You fill in all the data that the hotel requires, which vary from country to country and also business to business. No two hotels are the same here. And the first thing that we added in is the ID or passport and the guest selfie collection. Now, in some hotels, they're required to send this passport number to the local police or the authorities every night. Some hotels operate mixed accommodation and have staffless environments. So to keep their guests safe, they want to capture that information, even though it's not legally required. So now the hotels are able to configure whether they optionally require this information or whether they make it a hard requirement for you to do your online check-in. For me, why this is so important is because the online check-in needs to replace that staffed experience at the hotel. There is nothing more frustrating as a guest of going and doing your online check-in, filling in everything, and then you arrive at the hotel and then they ask for your passport information and you have to go through your bag. And this happened to me yesterday when checking in, and I'm staying at a hotel from a very, very big brand. And I completed all my online check-in through their app. I wasn't asked for any passport information. The moment I got to the hotel, she takes it, swipes it through the keyboard. And I've already put that document away.
If the data is already in the system, why do they still require the passport, you think?
To make sure that, you made the reservation, to make sure it's your card that paid for it. And also, in the hotel I'm staying at, they require it report it to their authority. So they want to make sure the data entered is correct. And that's why. So now in the online check-in flow and also the kiosk check-in flow, using the guest camera, they can take a photo, it extracts the data.
You hold my passport up in front of the camera and then it just captures it?
Yep, exactly. And it's really, really fast as well. The cameras in phones now are so nice with all the autofocus. It happens really, really quickly. The hotels set their deletion period so we can make sure that the hotels are only storing that information for as long as they need. As soon as you leave, that gets automatically deleted. So it's never accessed there. And of course, it's all protected through two-factor authentication, pass keys, single sign-on.
I actually think this is going to be such a big solution. In some countries, they're not that strict, but in some countries they are. And it really ruins that online check-in flow because we try and do all of that stuff beforehand and then they get to the hotel and they still have to whip out their passport. So I'm really excited for countries like, for example, the Czech Republic, where we have our head office, where we always end up checking in, but you have to always take out your passport. So it's going to be a massive solution. There is one thing that you're adding also there, which I like. On your passport, you've got a photo, but you're also adding a selfie mode into the online check-in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So that selfie is, meant to pair with that verification, but we have hotels who are using it just in standalone, and they have it optional for their guests. Really nice high-end boutique hotels, small amounts of rooms with lots of staff there. So by requesting that selfie, then the guest can be treated like a rock star. There is nothing nicer than rocking up to the hotel and they already know who you are because they can see your smiling face there on their arrivals list. There's an airline that I constantly fly who does this really, really nicely, and they extract it from the passport. But when they come over and give you that greeting because you're a high-end loyalty member, they've got that photo of you on their tablet, which is super nice. So that's where the inspiration for this came from.
It's so good. Like, and I remember from when I was working at the front desk and we were on DOS, so we had a blue screen. So there was definitely not going to be any graphic image of a guest, but it really is important, right? If you're a large hotel, to recognize your regular guests, or how do you make sure that the next shift, if I've checked you in, I'll remember you, but my colleagues that have checked in the next shift, they won't recognize you, but these are loyal returning customers. So you go to the morning meeting and you normally you'd have a printout. That it's a perfect way to print out some of your regular guests and what they look like and what their like preferences are. And we'll get to the preferences later. But recognition of the guest is one of the most important things. And if you've never met them, that is really, really difficult.
Super, super nice.
And then we posted about Apple Key on the interwebs before, but can you just share, because we've now released it, we've got it live in hotels. Can you explain what it is?
Absolutely. Back in 2021 at the Worldwide Developer Conference that Apple have, they announced this, that hotel keys can now be put into Apple Wallet, and the technology's been there. So it's been a long time before now it's actually in hotels and adopted by guests. So we partnered with aptly, who's the first lock partner that we've partnered with this. So it works with their Vostio solution, which sits in the cloud. So, no plastic keys, no app downloads. But the nicest part about Wallet is it's a complete web experience. So you've done that online check-in through web, you press a button, you've already signed into your iCloud account on iPhones or on your Google account on Android, and then it adds it to your wallet. You can even do this on desktop. So you're checking in at your computer on your Mac, and then you can add that to your wallet from there, and it just appears on your phone and your watch. So it sits in your phone, it's sitting there, then the arrival check happens, all that automation that we have. Hotels set this, whether it's the balance, the room inspected, online check is completed, all the rules they need for a guest to just go straight to their room. And then the guest just receives a push notification saying, your key's ready. You go, you tap your phone. You don't need to unlock anything because it works in that express transit mode, like what you're used to with public transport. If your phone runs out of battery, it still works due to the power reserve that's built in the phone. It is so nice. Like, I've been waiting for this forever. And yeah, we've gone live with one hotel. There's two others going live this week, and there's a huge pipeline of customers. We put that release out, and then all these inquiries started flooding us. Yeah, I'm just really excited that we can push this technology forward and we can get hotels to adopt it.
I just came back from my summer holiday and I stayed at a big brand hotels as well. So the big brands always have their own app with digital keys built in. And I challenged myself for 9 days to never use the plastic key. I gave up after a few days because it worked, right? So you open your phone with your face recognition. You then have to go find the app. Then you have to open the app, and sometimes it locks you out of the app. So you have to log back into the app, and then you have to press open the key. And then there's a 5-second delay because you have to hold it to the door and it has to communicate. So it works. And It was nice that I didn't have to always think about my plastic key. Like, the most commonly asked question is, did you bring the key, or do you have the key every time we leave the room? And like, we stopped doing that after a while, but the delays, the pains of opening an app, and like, what is so nice about Apple Wallet, I could have it on my watch and I just tap it. And I don't even have to open an app on my watch on the terrible user interface. I just hold it against the lock. And I think that is the power, because it's as fast as a plastic key. Because the thing that we loved about plastic keys is that it was fast. It's just clunky having a plastic key that, you have to throw away or you have to remember to keep with you at all times. So I can't wait to check into an Apple Key hotel.
Yeah.
Or Google. We also work with Google.
There's a lot coming. But yeah, as you said, it's just so fast, which is really nice. Everyone trusts mobile payments on their devices already. Like, I don't leave the house with my wallet anymore because I've got my watch and my phone. So it's the exact same technology as that, which is really nice.
Nice. So those are some of the exciting features for the online check-in. So passport verification, selfie mode, and Apple Key. So real improvements that make that journey from checking in once you're on the road on your personal device to actually getting into the room really smoothly.
And it's not just online check-in as well. So it's also kiosk check-in. And, our kiosk is really to bridge that gap. There's some hotels which don't want to dive and go full into guests arriving themselves. We get it. It's scary. It takes time. So I challenge everyone, put the kiosk in there, even if you're using it in staff mode, because then you can start using all this technology.
So what changed on the kiosk then?
So now on the kiosk, also that selfie and that verification flow has been added in there. And for the key, now we give the guest the option. Hey, do you want a wallet key, or would you like to continue with the traditional plastic key?
And that's nice, right? So if you think about when you switch your kiosk into staff mode, you send a trainee into the lobby saying, hey, go and check these people in. But you still had to cut the plastic key, right? You still had to have an encoder somewhere in the lobby. Whereas now they can actually do the full check-in because payments was already completely automated. So the only thing that you needed, the only device was that key encoder. Yep. So with Apple Wallet, you can actually just completely go mobile in that case.
Absolutely. Yep.
Nice. Let's switch to personalization of guest experiences. What can you tell me that we're releasing there?
Yeah, so we are releasing a lot to do with their guest lifetime value. So a lot of hotels using Mews already have seen on the timeline, we changed that returning icon to now be more granular so you can see.
It's funny, I did a cross exposure in hotels the other day and they didn't realize what all the icons meant. And I'm like, but they're such a good primer. And that returning arrow, it's like a circular arrow, meaning returning, right? So like it's over and over returning. And it's so important. That's why we use iconography everywhere, because using words is much harder to interpret and icons are so fast. So everywhere you go, you see all the icons. So you know if it's a difficult customer, if it's a VIP customer, returning customer, female, person with children. So the icons actually matter, but we do update them sometimes.
And now the icons are smarter. So that returning icon, it now shows that number, how many times the guest has stayed, which is really nice. So you'll be on the timeline. You'll see that Adam has stayed 50 times in this hotel. Fantastic. You'll click on it. And then now we've got the smart tip, the AI summary that we have of all the guest notes, classification, dietary requirements. That is now in that timeline view too. So you don't need to go into the guest profile to see it. So the smart tip is there, and it's there for all of the companions, because you may not just be traveling by yourself. You may be traveling with another guest who has history at the hotel or the hotel chain. So that's one thing. Then on the customer profile, you can now see all of these lifetime value insights. You'll be able to see the total spend they've had at the hotel or the hotel chain, the number of nights, the number of reservations. But what I really, really love is the granular insights piece, because there you can see all of the items that the guest has ordered. So for me, we'll probably have on there beer, red wine, and then probably a steak, as those, like, I'm pretty basic. Those are the things I mainly eat there. But that then allows the hotels to say, okay, Adam commonly orders this item. When we give him his welcome amenity, maybe we should actually base it off this data. And this data isn't just based off items entered in the PMS, it's through Mews POS as well. So whether the guest is charging things to their room, or if I tap my credit card, if that credit card matches what I've got on my Mews profile inside of the property management system, those details are being merged so we can still capture those insights as well.
So that tooltip, and we've talked about this before, we've got these AI tooltips and we use an AI large language model to consume everything we know about customers. And previously we would read the reservation notes, the guest notes, anything you collected about the customer, but we didn't always look at what's on the bill of the previous stay. And like there's such valuable information on knowing what they purchased, if they bought the upgrade last time, or if they enjoyed beer and pizza at this hotel. So now we consume even more, so they become smarter tips basically. Yep. That consume more and more information. And we have now integrations. So if you think about review platforms that engage with guests saying, hey, would you like to leave a review? And if the guest then actually ends up leaving a review, that information should feed back into Mews so we can consume it. So these smart tips, when that returning icon appears, we now know whether you were with us before, whether you like pizza and beer, but also what you thought of us as a hotel last time. And it's so important to take all of that information, but then condense it to a really smart, short tooltip.
And it's not even just your hotel as well. Maybe the guest stayed at a different hotel in the chain and they had a bad experience and left a bad review. Then they've given you a second chance. They've given your chain a second chance. You can now go into that service recovery mode and say, okay, they had a horrible stay at this hotel. I'm going to make sure they have an amazing stay here, and then fix that service recovery.
And then the second part that you talked about, which was the guest lifetime value, it's the holy grail of hospitality, in my opinion. Like, I remember working in hotels and I was like, oh, who are the most regular customers? And no one would be able to pull that information easily. Sure, you could find it. You'd have to work a few hours to pull that kind of report. But you should be able to see on the guest profile of your arrivals exactly how many times they stayed, what have they spent, right? Is this a high value customer or a low value customer, a customer who books with you a cheap rate and then goes to eat outside the hotel, or is this a guest who actually stays with you and spends money at the hotel? So you know you need to rope them into kind of that experience. And that guest lifetime value is honestly the holy grail. Once we've started connecting all the dots of they pay by credit card in the restaurant, so we didn't really know it was me eating at the restaurant, but through the credit card token, we can connect it back to my profile and merge those things together. That makes it incredibly rich.
And on that smart tip, last time I came to Prague, I was staying at a hotel, and this hotel doesn't have ironing boards in their room. And when I was checking in, the lady checking me in, she looked at the smart tip and saw that it mentions in there, he often requests an ironing board because they've saved that to my profile. And then I heard her say something into the radio to housekeeping. And as soon as I walk into the room, not even a minute later, I hear this knock and it's like, oh, the ironing board you requested. I didn't request anything. They just saw that tip. And then I was so happy about that. I posted it on LinkedIn. I told everyone in the office, I was like, this is amazing. The technology works. Yeah.
I love that. And you talked, in our pre-conversation, we talked about VIP setups, right? In hotels, I remember when I worked in hotels, we'd have 5 VIP setups. 1 was a welcome card from the GM, 2 was chocolates, and 3 was a fruit basket. And you went up the rank basically. And they were so standardized. They didn't think about the guest. They were just like, here's a fruit basket. I don't even know if you like fruit, but here's a basket because you're a VIP 3. But this insights on guests allows you to really customize and get much more creative. And, AI allows you to think, okay, right, this is what they consumed before. What do you recommend I do as a VIP amenity? And I haven't yet seen anyone use it. Have you seen anyone do it already?
I've seen hotels do it manually. They're using it, but these are the hotels which really pay attention to it. And I feel like I'm going to give a spoiler here, but this is how we can automate this data is something that we're working on at the moment. So we're going to have to do another Matt Talks in a couple months time. So I'm going to keep being at the leaderboard of the people that have been on this podcast. We want to take this data. So now we've gathered the data, we're showing it to the hotel. Now the third stage of this is how we automate this. And this shouldn't just be for the hotels who are doing this already and saving them time. This should be for everyone. Even if you're a hotel with minimal staff, if you've got returning guests, you should still reward them. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
So that was the second block, which is all about guest information, guest profiles, collecting as much information, and then giving you back the information so you can do something really personal with those pieces of information. The third block is around more of a back office operation so that we give you time back, but also the experience is just much smoother for the guests. What can you tell us about the behind the scenes?
Yeah, so everyone would have seen we have invested a lot into our guest communication, so our emailing from the system. We've put a nice new fancy editor in there so you can visualize your emails, you can customize it. But one of the things that this has unlocked is those dynamic conditions. There is nothing more frustrating than when I'm staying for business and I'm in this 100% work mode. I'm a workaholic. That's just how I operate. And I want to know, what can I do to get into my room as quickly as possible? And then the emails are bloated with all this content about the big bus tour, about buying tickets to the museum. I don't care about any of that. I am a business guest. I'm here to work. So now we allow hotels to separate their email confirmations, before start emails, after start emails based on segments, based on rate groups, based on the space that they've ordered. So for people like me, you can just have a very simple email saying, welcome, thank you for your business. This is what we need you to do. We know that you're busy to get into your room. And then for the leisure guests, sell them on the city, tell them about all this great information. So that's the first thing that we've done, which is the dynamic email conditions.
And you mentioned that also when hotels take reservations by phone, right? So you have a phone conversation with the customer about whatever, their dog, their kids, and then they make the reservation. But then you get a very generic email. And even those can be customized now, right?
Absolutely. If someone's calling up, they want that personal connection, right? Maybe they were struggling online, or maybe they are from a different generation that, appreciates speaking to people. So now, like us, yeah, exactly. So now, when you create that reservation, you can add that custom message in. So if you were speaking to a lovely lady, talking about her pet that she's had for years that she's bringing to your hotel, you can put that personalized message into the email. And yeah, it makes the guest day. So that's added in as well now.
We have supermarkets in the Netherlands where there is a lane when you're on the checkout, which is the slow lane for chatty people. So if you want to have a conversation, you can go in that lane and you can have an endless conversation with people around you. And And it's apparently become such a big hit because that is a certain type of people. And you get those in hotels as well. The ones that come to the reception desk because they just really enjoy that experience. We shouldn't rush them because there's a business traveler behind them, right? The business traveler will check in online. They'll do all of it unless you force them to give their passport at the reception desk. So you have to think about all these different customer segments and saying, business, let's automate the heck out of it because these customers, they do not want to hear about the big bus tour in the city. But my grandma, who will check in, she loves that experience. They want to hear about the city and all the tips that you have. So having a queue behind your grandma isn't going to be conducive to that experience.
Exactly. And then, also for those business guests. So, on the kiosk again, we've made big improvements to the billing flow because one of the things that was slowing those guests down was they needed to edit their bills to add corporate information on there to make sure their organization would approve their expenses. Or maybe they had a really late night at the bar and they can get away with expensing 2 beers, but probably not 12. So now they can actually manage their bills, split those items off, pay separately. So that's really, really nice for the business guests, but also for those leisure guests too. If you've gone on a weekend getaway with 2 friends and you're going to split it, now you can just be like, hey, you pay that night, I'll pay this night, and just do it straight there. So we've added a lot in to do with how the billing works on the kiosk, and also the billing automation to make sure those things, that revenue and those payments are automatically being routed to the right place.
Because the kiosk works incredibly well. But really, the biggest focus was check-in because check-in is the most painful process of a hotel where you got to check your information, you got to do the upsell, you got to take the credit card, you got to issue a key. So check-in had always been our focus, but we shifted that now because we actually feel that the check-in is in a perfect state. We shifted the attention to the checkout because often, some hotels automate it. So you just get to the kiosk, you say your room number and you're checked out. But some hotels, and we've been growing a lot in Germany, for example, where there's a lot of German travelers who require their billing address to be correct on the bill. So now the online check of the kiosk checkout is, update your billing address, making sure that your alcoholic items are separated out from your bill because your company won't pay for that. Did you have anything from the minibar? So that entire checkout flow is now built in the kiosk end to end. And then once you check out, your bill's instantly in your inbox as well. So it becomes a fully fledged kiosk that does not only fully fledged check-in, but also the checkout.
And as well, it's not just for minibar as well. Hotels can sell, merchandise on checkout as well. Whether you want to bring a gift home for, your partner or maybe your kids. I saw a really, really nice hotel. We have a channel where our team are sharing photos of the kiosks in the wild. And I saw this photo of the kiosk, and next to it was a lovely stack of these candles, which were made exclusively for that hotel. So now, like, the guest can say, yeah, I would like to purchase that candle, grab it, and then leave. So it's also really nice for that grab and go use case too.
Love nowadays that because we're so global, friends of mine send me photos of check-ins that they're doing at Mews hotels. And it just makes me so happy because it's not just, in the Netherlands where we're, the number one, but it's like in Japan. I got a photo from a friend the other day who was in the mountains in Japan. And then she took a photo of the check-in kiosk. And I was like, that is so, so great.
I love it. Yeah, I get the exact same. And it's, a fantastic reminder of, what we're building the product for, which is great. I always say, to my team, the things I'm building are for myself as a traveler. So now I'm happy that it's spreading and I'm actually building things for other people that I know.
Thank you. As I think you can tell, me and Adam get very excited about, because we travel every single week for work. So we get excited about the innovations, and we often stay in non-Mews hotels so that we really get the other experience. And then we stay at a Mews hotel, and we always do the comparative notes every time I call in. But I'm really excited about this release. I feel like this is a massive step forward for guest experiences around the world. Thank you for sharing it so openly. And I'm excited to hear some of the guest feedback after they started using it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on the second time.
I like how you're like, the second time. Thank you.